Hello, welcome to Scalemodeling, and welcome to our Revell German search and rescue ship build. And we're into part 13 of the series. And if you're new and you've just come into this video, I suggest you go back to the playlist, and you can watch this right from the unboxing review all the way to where we're at now. Particularly if you intend to buy this, maybe you'll pick up a few tips as you go. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It's free to subscribe, and hit that notifications bell and you get notified each time I release a video. Comments are welcome. Please comment. If you've got any questions about the build, or if you've got some advice and tips for me, I really appreciate it. I read all the comments, and thank you very much for all the comments. And give us a thumbs up at the end if you like the video. That helps YouTube get the word out that I'm trying to get this out to as many people who are interested. So let's have a look at where we're at. Now, what we're doing now is putting the water gun or water cannon on the roof here. I've just put this in place, but there it is. There's the pipe, which is the brass piece connected to the base of this, and it's located. There's a little notch in the side of the roof, and it sits in there pretty much perfectly like that. So what I want to do now is connect that into there. And then we've got this, which you would have seen me build up in the previous video. Quite detailed, looking really nice. That will go on there like that. But I'm not going to put that on there now because it's too delicate, and it's just something else that could get knocked off. Particularly since we're building the mast now in this video, and the mast goes right over the top of here. Although most of the work will be done before it's put on the ship, but still. So this, for the time being, will sit in its little safe little box here. I was thinking of putting these on the side of the ship that were made up quite a while ago. The name of the ship. And they just sit on here, I think, or is it on here? To check that now, I don't really remember. Anyway, if I do put them on, I'll let you know. There's no rush for that. In fact, maybe that might, if I keep them looking nice like that, it might be best to keep them till the end, because we want to clear coat over most of the stuff on most of this ship, and that's just a decal on a piece of photo etch. Don't really want to be spraying that with clear coat. So yeah, so like I said, it's time to build the mast. Now I'm going to clear this out of the way. We'll bring the instructions up, particularly for the photo etch, and we'll just go show you how complex this is going to be. All right, I'll be back in a second. I'll just make some room. Okay, so we're back, and looking at the instructions where we're up to, I just noticed that the mast itself actually takes up step 55, 56, 7, 8, 9, 60, 61, 62, 63. And that's if you just build it straight out of the box, okay? But of course we have the platinum edition, limited edition, so we got photo etch. So let's have a look. Photo etch. So we've got these parts here, which are little platforms that sit off the mast to mount stuff on. Then we got the mast itself from the original part, which shows us all the parts that need to come off that. And then we start building up the mast, which means adding everything to it. And that's the scary part. This whole page is all the masts. So yeah, I've had well, I haven't had a real good look at all this. I will before I attempt too much. There's quite a lot of brackets. There's a lot of prep work, like parts that need to be put together before they go on, which I like working that way. For instance, step 39 here has you referring back to step 29, 30, 34, 32, 35, 37, 33. So all the things that you did, all the parts you made up now come out and go on to the mast. So there's a lot of prep work, pieces going together. Of course, after that, we go further down. There's some, there's the ship's horn here that's got to be mounted on, replaced with a photo etch version. We've got more lights. We've got quite a lot, or a few of them to go on. There's a bracket down here that require drilling. Now, let's have a look. We've got different size holes here. So we've got 0.5 mil. I'll bring the camera down a little bit. Closer look. We'll get it back up like this. Okay, better there. All right. So we have 0.5, 0.5, 4 holes. There's 3 1mm holes, 2 more 0.5 millimeters, another 0.5 here. So there's all these parts to go on there. There's a piece of photo etch to be put on there. There's some, actually it looks like there's some brass that needs to be cut to go on here as well. As we go over, there's lots of like antennas, aerials that go on. Look at this thing. Look at that. So this piece of photo etch, it looks like, will have to be bent in all these different directions. And then we go to here, which is a view of that top platform. And it's telling you from steps 46, 45, 17, 44, they're the parts that you made in those steps going on here. We've got a starboard side and a port side, so you can get the correct angle of which way it's supposed to sit. And we have what's good here is a photo etch side view, looking at it and indicating all the parts from the different steps where to go, and all the brass parts. There's quite a bit of all the brass bits going on top of there. Here we have a photo of the actual piece all made up at that point. And if I remember right, yes, over the page, we've got another view of it. So at least we can see exactly what I need to do, and everything looks very clear. And the instructions seem to make a lot of sense. So I'm really glad that there's plenty of angles and photos and we're not going to miss anything. But as you see, it all comes together as one piece, and then it gets placed on once it's all done. But of course, we've got to paint as well, and it's not all one color. So the orange that we had, half of it, I think it's half of it or a section of it. I'll need to check back with the instructions. Let's have a look back in here. Yeah, so they're showing us some color there. So there's a white strip in the center of the post there, and then there's the top and this section, which will be the fluorescent orange color that we've used on the other parts of the ship. My favorite oil paint that takes a week to dry, but that's the way it is. Yeah, so lots and lots. Okay, so I guess there's only one thing to do now, and that's get started with it. And what I think we'll need to do first will be to take I don't know whether to go with building this section here with all the aerials and bits and pieces on it. Do that first, or take this off and get it all trimmed up and all the parts removed that need to be removed. Because as you can see back here, there's lots of bits that are being replaced with photo etch that have to be taken off. By the way, and this is also in two halves. That's why you're seeing two there. There's two halves that go together to make this up. Okay, so when you see it completed, that's the two joined halves there. All right, to give you an idea. Fun. All right, I'll get on with this, and we'll be back in a second, just after I decide which way I'm going to start. And I don't think it matters, and probably best to do all this with all these brass pieces first. Yeah, I think I'll go that way. All right, okay, back shortly, guys. Okay, welcome back. So I've managed to drill the holes into the platform at the top of the mast. And fortunately, I've got these fantastic drill bits here. They're made by ickysticky.com. You can go on their website and have a look at these. But I swear, they just go through this plastic like it's butter. Really easy, beautiful, and so accurate. There's a 0.5 mil in this one. I had to drill about 4 holes, and then I had to drill 3 1 mil holes. But yeah, fantastic little drill bits. They're tungsten micro drill bits. We've got 10 in there, 0.1 to 1 millimeter. I've also got some 1.1 to 2 millimeter, and I've got some 2.1 to 3 millimeter. So I'm covering all the bases. And yeah, ickysticky.com, definitely worthwhile. And also with this here, we've got the photo etch little jig here that you fold one end and it gives you the location for your holes. So it was just a matter of placing it over where you want to put your holes in, and then that would locate where you want to put them, including in the end there. There's some holes that need to go dead center. I found just holding it in position was fine just to start the hole. Then when you can take it away and you can finish it off. But yeah, worked really well. Okay, so I'll move on to the next part, which is let me see. So what I've done is I've just completed this part, although there's a piece of brass that needs to go in the center. So in that gap there's a little bit of brass that we need to cut, actually. Could be tricky, so I think it'll take more than your little knife to cut it, but we'll see. And put that in and glue that into place. I'll do that. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Hey, welcome back everyone. So I'm working on these different sections of photo etch, and I just thought I'd show you one particular piece which is quite tricky, and you'll see here, camera will show. See how this has all these little, might be better to see it that way. All right, so we've got 2 pieces. See that it came flat, and you had to bend up those, what is there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe? 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces had to be bent up and 2 left straight out, as you can see it where it is there. To do that, it's best if you actually have a proper bending tool, because it is just so small, which I have. Where is it? There. Okay. Because you really got to hold these pieces tight. Now that piece is not complete yet, because I've now got to bend it around in a crown shape like this. So if you look at the instructions, you'll see here, so I've gone from that to that, and now I have to bend each individual segment around into a circle, so I get something that looks like that, and then it joins up and looks like that. Without breaking any pieces, of course. That would be a disaster. So yeah, quite a struggle. Now, as for that was number 47 in the photo edge. This piece, excuse me, this piece here in 45, step 45, I've done that. That was quite simple actually. It was those 5 pieces just glued together to form that and make sure it turns out straight. That was quite easy. This part here were 2 little aerials with these little mounts on the end, the brass rods. Very tiny, but they fitted together, they went in, so that's okay. Also, I've done all the drilling, which I mentioned with the little jig to sort those out. Here are the pieces in here, so I've got them all labeled, so we know exactly what step to refer back to when they all go on here. This is basically what they're all going on to. There's our little piece in the center there that I put in. That's all done. The Icky Sticky tungsten micro drill set, fantastic for drilling those little holes. You'll see there's holes all the way around here that we had to do. Did it no problem. All right, so I'm going to go on and bend this around in the circle like it's supposed to. So fingers crossed it'll work out. And then we'll move on to the next part, which will be, actually, that's all the pieces we need to start putting them on that little base where they all go, because then we'll be doing that. So that's referring back to all the steps that we did previously and putting everything on. There is a few bits in here that I haven't got. I don't know about this and this. There's still, I have to get those yet. So even though there's referring back to parts that I've built and put together earlier, there's still extra pieces to go on in this step. Anyway, let's get on with this, eh? So far, so good. All right, I'll be back in a second. Hey, welcome back, guys. I thought I'd just show you that it worked. Quite a complicated looking piece, but as you can see here, I'll see if I can get that to focus like it should. There you go. It worked out perfectly. So the trick to doing this is using tweezers. You can get in there and just where the bend is. So we're looking at the instructions here. All right. It's quite accurate when it says to bend it slowly, like slowly work around, and you'll find you'll get halfway and then just go back to the first prong and bend it a little bit more, all the way until you get into a full circle, and you'll find that they line up just right. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed the way that turned out. I'm very happy it did. So yeah, there you go. All right, get organized here, and let's see about putting this together and these parts on, and we need to get quite a few more extra bits to be added to this as well. All right, so once again, I'll be back in a sec. Hey there, I'm just back again to show you a bit of an error I discovered in the instructions here in case you're building this or planning to. So they named this little pole here, which has a light sitting on top of it, and this is, we're building up on in step 48. So they label this single piece both BR10B and BR11B. All right, so I'll show you on the instructions. Get this over. So this drawing version, BR11B of this piece, is this piece here, and they've given it two different names for the same piece. And earlier over here, I think it was, they call it BR11. So you probably look at that first and go hunting for BR11. It's not BR11, okay, it's BR10. And if you remember earlier, we had to cut a piece of photo etch, a brass piece. This is the other part that was left over after that piece was cut off. So that's why they're calling it 10B. All right. But there's no 10B on the instructions listing the parts. So even on here, you won't find a 10B. There's BR10, BR11. And you look at BR11 is the main mast pole. It's actually this part here of BR10. So where we earlier cut this piece off here and used it, this is the piece we want. Okay. So just so you know that. Now, another little thing is that with that piece, get things sorted out over here. Right, so then after that you need piece 25 of photo etch, which is this tiny little rectangular piece. I don't know if you can even see that, it's because it's silver. Lift that up like this, if I can hold it. Yeah. Okay, so that's this one here, and it's supposed to go on top of the pole here, and there is a hole for it, but even though the photo will show you it's sitting through the hole, it won't sit through the hole. The hole's too small, or the brass is too round. But there's nothing really you can do about that. So that will have to be glued on there very carefully, even though it won't go through the hole, and straight, because on top of that will be this little piece here, which is the base of the light. That will go on top of there, and then there's our light, which will go on top of there. All right, so just keep that in mind, that they've labeled it wrongly, this brass piece. It's actually BR10, and it's B, the other piece you cut off. So don't throw it away if you cut that piece off. You need the other half. And of course, that piece there, which is number 26 in the brass sheet, it won't fit in there as shown in the image, but you'll still have to put it on there because it's the base for this to sit on. Okay. Now I'm thinking you could just put that on there. I wonder if that would work, because it has a hole. Maybe that will work. I would say that the hole is probably too big. If I could even get it on there. Actually, that works. Maybe if you didn't use that base for it to go under, that will actually sit there like that. I think I'm going to go that way. I'm going to leave that piece off because it's just going to be balancing on the top, whereas that actually goes through, and then that can come along and go on top. So yeah, that's my way. I'm going to leave that off and just use that piece. All right. I mean, you're never going to see that. All right, because it's, you know, when you're looking at it, the end result, that's it there, and it's actually the piece underneath that, you know. So yeah. All right. I will continue. Be back shortly. Okay, I'm back again. I just thought I'd mention that you do need to use that piece number 20. What was it? 26 under the base. Otherwise, if you just use the piece under the light, it goes down too far, and then you're not going to be able to put the light itself on straight. So there it is there. All right. sitting on there fine. To help things stick quicker to position, especially when you're working with CA glue and you want things to stay in place solidly and quickly, especially doing little bits like this, I highly recommend, put the lid on before I pick it up, is the CA activator. Icky Sticky has these. You can order these. This stuff will last you forever, but definitely makes things easier to position when you can throw that there and it's not going to move and end up with a result like that. So that's going to get added onto here, which is slowly getting built up as we add the pieces to it. This one will go pretty much in the center of there. All right. Okay, before I start dropping things, I will continue on, which I just dropped it. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, back guys, and as you can see here, it's finally finished. Lots of little bits and pieces in there, I tell you, and tricky bits. In fact, some of the aerials there that are actually bent downwards, if you can see that, mean that this is hard to even put down anywhere without bending something. So it's going to get stored somewhere very, very safe. As you can see, it's come up really good. Lots of pieces on there. Yeah. So now we're going to move on to the other section of the mast. Let's just let me just put this somewhere safe. So the last thing I want to do is damage that. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so on the actual instructions, all we did was this, which is basically just step 55. But this doesn't show all the photo etch, but we can still tick that off as done, which was actually, when you're looking at the photo etch, we've done step 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, including all that. Oh, and back at 43 down here. So that's all done. Now we're moving on to the rest of the mast, which will be, okay, so we've got to take the plastic parts off the sprue, and it looks like we've got to take a lot of pieces off that. Now, I'm guessing, or not guessing, but yeah, there's quite a bit to be removed, and a lot more than what it's telling us on these instructions, because there's another page over here, step 21, which is pretty much telling us all these parts to be taken off. So now I'm going to go, I'll take off this these masts and get them cleaned up, and then we'll come back and see what we got to remove. Okay, there's also this part here, step 29 and 30, which are parts that go on that mast. All right, so I'll be back in a second. We'll just get organized here and be good to go. Back in a sec. Okay, welcome back. So what I've done here is I've taken off most of the parts that aren't photo etch here. So we've got the mast, we've got a couple of these brackets that will go on the mast, sort of like this. There's another one that goes down here. So they will need to be, haven't cleaned any of these up yet. We've got some radar units that go on. There's some spotlights here, quite a few, 5 spotlights, which do actually have photo mesh around the frames of them that look quite good. Show them to you here. So there's a little bit of photo etch that goes around the frames of the spotlights. We've got the ship's horn, which needs to be fitted where that one is to replace it. And unlike the last bit with all these bits and pieces to be added on, this is pretty much all we've got to go on. So it's just a case of looking at this and putting it all together. One thing I have to remember here is a lot of stuff has to come off here. For instance, all the steps, all the stairs. Look at that, I just noticed some major flashing on there, eh? Anyway, those steps all have to come off. I think they all do anyway. Just checking. Yes, they do. Okay. So, another thing, yeah, like I was saying, the other thing to mention is that the painting of this. So these two will be attached together, something like that. Okay. Not sure how that's better. Yeah. Well, you can see how bent that is, eh? I just realized. Look how bent that piece is. That's supposed to be straight. I know it'll fit once it's on, but I may put this in some warm water just to straighten it up a little bit. But they will go together. So the painting of here, we have black. So from about, let's point with this. So from about here down, including this section here, this will be black. Then there's an area in the center here that's white before the top, which goes up to our fluorescent orange, like we have on the other rest of the ship. So that's going to need a bit of masking and so forth. But the idea right now will be to take off all the parts that need to come off, going by this diagram here. So we need to take all this stuff off and attach these. So we've got these have to go on here. There's 12 little handles, little foot, obviously for climbing up. So we've got to put all rails, all those little bits. What do you call them? Like bars, yeah, like foot or grab bars for climbing up. So that all needs to be put on. Those will get put on. So I'll put as much on as I can. I'm guessing before painting. Yeah, because at some point I'm going to have to tape and mask up this, aren't I? That might be tricky with all that in there. We will see. Unless the black isn't on both sides. Maybe it's just one side's black and the other isn't. Anyway, I will figure this out. Going by the painting instructions on here, again, this is different. This actually shows you all the parts going together here with the painted sections there. There it is there, going on. And then there's all these other bits and pieces all going on. Maybe they all have to be painted separately. There's a few platforms and so forth. Yeah. All the way down to step 61, and then we're still going. Oh, that's where we're putting the top bit we've just built onto there, and then the whole thing's going onto the boat. All right, I'll get started. All right, back shortly, and I'll get this sorted out. Okay, welcome back again. So what I've progressed so far is to here. Okay, so I've glued the two sides together. I've got this part sitting in there, and I put the photo etch plate on and all the steps running up there. And I'll tell you what, that was tricky because they all have to be angled at the right. You see how they're all angled down? So to get them all spot on, very tricky, but they're done. Now there's some more to go down here and here. In fact, there's more photo etch to go all over this. We've got some plates and bits to go on here. So what I'm going to do now, I'll just move that, is I'm going to take off these pieces and fold those ready. They're just a couple of more platforms replacing the plastic. And they will just be on the side because they'll come into use reasonably soon. I think there's lights go on them. I'm not too sure. Oh, the radar goes on one of those. Right, and yeah, there's a lot of pieces to go on. So we've pretty much done this, except for the stairs on the side, which is what I'll probably do next. Going by this is what I'm following here, step 39. I'm trying to get on there, those two there. I'm going to get off and put them on now. I'll put that top piece on. It looks like that can go on. I'll just put that to the side. There's also these little things here, 38. I'm not sure what they are. I sure saw something referring back to them. Yeah. And of course, we've got all these other little bits to do as well. Okay, so I will get on a bit further and I'll let you know if I have any problems. They took me a long time to do those steps on there just because I had to get them all straight. Very, very tricky. But done. So moving on to the next bit. I'll be back shortly. Okay, welcome back again. So I've got these two pieces made up. Fortunately, they were with the brass photo etch, which is easy to fold, and they're good. So those two platforms are ready to go. So I'll put those aside now, like that, and that now marks off a couple of steps here. So we've done here. So step 29, that's those two are done. 1, 2. We've taken all this off and put that on with all the rail, all the steps on it. Yeah, all that's taken off, so we can circle that's done. I think that completes that page, actually. And I really mean completely completes that page. There's nothing on that for us to do. Yeah, that's great. I'll put that aside. Now, as for this one, well, we've got a few things here. So, what I'm going to do is, we're basically working on this here. I need to put all these pieces of photo etch on, including quite a bit that I haven't taken off the sprue yet. There's a whole piece runs down the center of there that needs to be, with little hooks on it, needs to be made up. These pieces that go on here, more steps here. So what I'll do now is I'll take all these pieces off the sprue, put them all aside, and then in the next video we'll come back and we'll put all this together. That will also include putting the spotlight surrounds on. Do those again. I'll take all this stuff off and prepare it, including the horn, and that in the next video should complete. We should be able to get up to this stage here where we place that top section on, and this is all ready to paint at least. But some of these things like the horn and the lights and things like that may have to stay off until after I paint it. But I think most of this can go on. All right. So that will be in the next video, which will be number 14, episode 14. So thank you for watching. We can get through a lot in progress in this. We've got through a bit, but not a lot at the same time. Focusing on the mast, and we'll definitely finish it in the next video. So thank you all for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Your comments are welcome below, and particularly asking questions below if you're building this or you plan to build it. If you've got any questions, throw it in there, or if you've built this and want to give me some tips. But so far the mast has been going well. Alright, so again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.